All right, this is another episode of the English and English podcast. That's Brett.
That's Eric.
And we have we're back from quite a bit of a hiatus under special request.
Indeed.
By Tracy. I will keep all identifying details.
Other than a name.
Other than a name. Won't give out all the spying information that I have. No.
Yeah, not that the NSA doesn't have it anyway.
Right, exactly. They all have information on us. So Tracy requested another another episode of the English and English podcast, specifically including some topics mostly related to whatever we want to talk about and some of the new Marvel stuff, or newer Marvel stuff. So we can go ahead and start with that.
Right.
Which is basically the Doctor Strange movie and the last 2 or 3 Netflix shows.
Which the most recent one to finish was
Iron Fist. Before that was Luke Cage, and then before that was Jessica Jones.
Well, before that was season 2, Daredevil.
Well, I meant a new show.
Yeah.
So let's start with Doctor Strange.
Technically, I put him more in like it's Netflix season 5, Marvel Netflix season 5.
Okay.
Is Iron Fist, and I'll explain that reasoning a little bit later.
Or like the new batch of whatever shows they come out with.
Right, yeah. But that's because they're all tying them together for the purposes of leading into that Defenders crossover.
Okay.
So there's pieces of each series that's supposed to influence the others just like the movies do.
Right.
Which is kind of the problem in some ways. But we'll start with
Doctor
Doctor Strange.
Trying to do too many tie-ins?
No. That they repeat the same prompts. That if you watch, especially when you binge watch.
Right.
Well, I guess let's just talk about this part now because here we are.
Yeah.
Iron Fist was... I think Iron Fist was getting some flack. People were saying it was the crappiest of the ones.
Which I don't think that's the case.
I don't think that's the case. I think it was the worst budget out of all of them. It felt like they skimped on budget, or maybe just... Because, like, for example, they actually put the hand in ninja costumes in the other ones.
Right.
And this one, they couldn't bother to apparel them in ninja costumes.
They were just, like, commandos or something.
Right. Well, I mean, they gave the idea that there were different divisions of the hand.
Right.
And so, therefore... they could be using different equipment styles or like different tactics based on who was leading them, Which faction, right? Which finger of the hand you were facing.
Yeah.
But it also was just kind of jarring to go from like Daredevil, very much like, okay, classic Marvel comics, the hand is a bunch of ninjas and like stealth ninjas. Guys, to like, I'm wearing a jacket.
Right.
Like I have a black jacket and I do some mild kung fu.
A bodyguard.
Right.
Now, the thing that I didn't like, because the criticisms that I heard, obviously you hear all the weird whitewashing stuff, which was about like, have you heard that? People are getting mad saying
about this show?
About Iron Fist. Because
what?
But the hilarious thing is that like, he was always white.
Yeah.
The whole
Danny Rand was always white.
Was always every other was trained by...
Right. And the whole point was he was supposed to be the first outsider.
So there was there were no characters that were like changed to be white.
No,
so unless you're
almost
saying
every other character was Asian or some non-American in the hand or in all the Asians. Yeah, Kunlun was 100%, like...
Davos and all them.
They're all people that could have been from India, Tibet,
you got the Japanese
China.
lady, you got Rosario Dawson, you got all these different people who are...
Right.
Anyways.
Anyone who was shown to be from Kunlun was 100% from Asia, its various countries. A wide
Which is
variety
a fictional
of countries.
place. It's like another dimension
anyway. It's like being mad that Asgard is all white. Okay, well, it's based on a certain myth, Right. Just like Kunlun is based on
I don't think that was extremely prevalent. But now one of the criticisms that I saw from someone who wasn't of that persuasion, but was just sort of a fan, was they said they didn't like the fighting because it looked like he was just doing Tai Chi and then everyone would fall over. And the fighting wasn't after I watched it till after seeing that, so it wasn't as bad as I thought after reading that, but it wasn't nearly as like visceral as like Daredevil.
Well, this is interesting
like that
because I think this was part where I said I don't think they had as much budget or something.
Yeah.
I read somewhere, somebody read and told me that they only had like 3 weeks of preparation, unlike what's his name in Cox or whatever his name is that plays Daredevil. I don't remember his name.
But they have like one super long fight scene as they probably plan the whole season.
Right.
Super well choreographed.
Well, so they didn't have a lot of time to learn Kung Fu. And the other problem is this series, all of the series have kind of been aping a different genre, right? Luke Cage is aping the blaxploitation, the kind of like funky heart, the detective and everything. And those kind of things.
Jessica Jones turned into like a detective noir type shit they were going for.
Daredevil is the kind of noir-ish as well, And this one is aping Kung Fu movies.
Right.
But you don't have Jackie Chan anymore. There is no Jackie Chan. There is no Bruce Lee
like
or even Chuck
or
Norris.
Yeah.
Like there's nobody. Well, even Tony Jaa's like pretty old at this point. Like there is nobody who is a martial artist first who is now an actor like there was back then when those movies were at their height. There's no people who were kung fu martial arts. The modern martial artists that move into acting are mixed martial arts. They're
or
MMA
people
fighters.
who like just end up being good at it, like Jason Statham or something.
Right, yeah,
they
like
did
they're
some karate
halfway,
or whatever.
they're
and
mixed.
they can do the choreography really good.
Right.
And so it looks sweet.
But so
I definitely felt that it definitely didn't look as like, because that was what like Daredevil was kind of got popular from, was the fights looked really brutal, kind of like I said, visceral. They seemed to have high impact. And it wasn't as bad as like I feared after reading that guy's comment.
No, I think people's fears were overblown.
And I think this actually maybe because of what you said as well was that there just wasn't that much.
Right. And that's why I think the budget and everything else felt like they were dragging stuff out.
They're dragging stuff out, but for me it was like it got ridiculous with the amount of time that he would just be like not using his powers or anything. And like his fist will go for like 5 seconds, then he's like, I gotta recharge my chi. And you're like, well, what's the point of even having his power if you can punch one thing? And
they set up an interesting idea to begin with. The idea that since it's tied to like his chi, and the idea is like martial arts, you have to keep yourself in harmony and balance or whatever to be at your peak. And so his powers could be really powerful if he could control his mind. But then they just harp on it and use it to drag out the story.
Like, is this guy just useless or what?
Right. They use it to make a reason that you see him use the fist effectively like 5 times in the whole 13-episode show.
And very briefly.
Very briefly. Yeah. And one time to the level effect that's shown in the comics. Only the very last episode does he like full blast the floor.
Well, that and when he escapes the mental institution, he punches through like a steel door.
In the comics, that's what he does every other second.
Well, that's the whole character. It's like that's his power.
It's like he can fuse his chi into his fists and legs and like do mega kung fu stuff.
Well, then when like Akudo had him watching that video of like the last Iron Fist, and the guy's like both fists are glowing, and he's going on for like 15 minutes just wrecking house. And like, dude, you suck compared to this guy. Like, you can't do it for like 3 seconds. I don't mind the
idea of him having left before his training is complete. He's a neophyte, but it still reeked of we're out of budget. We can't. Every glowing fist costs us $500 a second. Exactly. We got to cut down. Okay, we made one episode with a glowing fist. We got to axe all the ninja costumes. Right. And then later on, they're like, oh man, we got to let go of the choreographer. And like
he'll break the handcuffs. It's funny too. Like, oh shit, I ran out.
There's that villain Bakudo doesn't show up until like the last third. Right. And I say the choreography markedly improves from that point on.
It does, yeah.
And so I think like they changed choreographer or the team got better at their job the more time they had to prepare as filming went on.
Just got better.
Right. Yeah, well, that's like the team actors included.
Escaping the compound, that was probably the best fight.
Right.
When it was like him
and it also
Davos
felt more visceral. Like unfortunately, like that very cool idea, the tournament fight, where he's fighting the 3.
That ended up being so lame.
It ended up being so lame in fighting style and execution. I mean, it was really cool, like the 2 brothers with the knives and
like the idea of like going through the levels and facing.
Right, that's
but it just
pure
felt
kung
totally
fu.
Flat.
It felt totally flat. And then later on, like even just that fight where he's smashing the surveillance room and Bakudo comes in there, it feels more like a real fight.
Right. Well, and the tournament thing leads me to the next point that I didn't like with this, which is infected. And I mean, some of this goes back to the original comics, but it just is so. Just doesn't play when you're watching like a real live action thing. Is this whole like, don't kill them. You'll just be as bad as them. And like, shut the fuck up and cut their head off.
That tournament part was the only place I say where that worked. But that was because it proved his naivety.
Right.
He has only been trained, never fought the actual enemy yet.
Well, that was in like a format. But like when they have Gal and they don't just like chop her head off, I'm like, no. Yeah. You should just like take your dragon punch a hole in their thorax.
Well, here's the other thing.
People tried to kill you. They're killing people.
They need to handle it like they do in the Avengers movies. They don't ever have Captain America talk about I don't kill people. Right. He just beats everybody up and then you don't talk about it.
Right.
It's like it's not
going to do it. Like if you saying I want to maintain the original integrity of the Daredevil character. I mean, Daredevil's different because that was like his big shtick. It was just the law
His big shtick is that he doesn't want to kill because
like
killing should go to court.
Maybe like a Batman.
Right.
Like, Batman's not the type of character that when you're doing a live action version, you want him to say I don't kill people. Because it just doesn't really work.
I understand with Batman, but Batman's the only character. It's kind of dumb, but Batman is. They've made it such a thing for so long.
I think it takes like.
If you worry about it too much, though, it falls flat. If you have scenes where they argue about it, the thing with Batman or like the other characters is you just don't make scenes where they purposely kill anybody. You don't make them be like, I'm going to finish this guy and cut his throat. You just leave it out. He beats them.
It keeps having to come up because you're like. You obviously would just kill this person.
Right, but if you're a good writer, like they always do in the comics, half the time they didn't do it where he'd be like, I won't kill you. Comics code said they couldn't have a killing, so the bad guy would just be like, ha, I've escaped.
Right, but in a live-action version like this, and they're just like, we're going to take her to the police. The police don't even know what's going on. Like, they wouldn't be able to do anything with her. You have no evidence that you've got to kill this person.
What evidence do you have?
That's why I like the Stoke for the Punisher.
Right. Well, also, you have the perfect option. the hand comes back from the dead.
Right,
Just
so you can
kill
still
him,
kill him, and if you
just
need the
beat
character.
him to death, and then later on, the hand whisked away the body.
Right.
Crap.
Well,
they're
which
gonna
they
come back.
finally did, because when Davos, I was like, thank God someone's not a maniac idiot.
Yeah.
He just is like,
Well,
nope,
anyway,
I'm killing
we've
this
gone
guy.
far and astray, but that's a good review of the Iron Fist.
Worth watching, obviously.
If you like
have
the rest of the
Netflix
series,
already.
watch it. It's not as bad as some people have said. It did feel like they put the least into it in terms of effort and choreography of the other was.
Right. I think the ending was weak. The first few episodes, you made you intrigued. One thing that I wanted to mention was I thought the guy who played Ward Meacham did a fantastic job.
He was the best character arc in the whole thing because he went from being asshole possible villain to like sympathetic, tortured, under his father's shadow, and his father can't die.
Jason, or Patrick Bateman kind of weird businessman to like an actual evil villain who's like, and then basically come back to being an ally, and you sympathize with him through the entire arc.
Right.
And the guy does a really good job of the acting,
that guy did the best job.
Yeah,
I think
he's
the
gonna
Danny
show up in a
Rand
lot of other
actor
stuff.
was not a bad choice because he played the innocent, like naive
If you're going to go
warrior
that route,
pretty well.
he was okay for it.
But the show did him no services. The plot did him no services.
They didn't help him out at all. Right. And like in the very end, especially with him just kind of like losing it without them really explaining.
Right. They
like,
set this idea of him not being able to control the Iron Fist because he can't control his emotions. Right. But then it was mostly just, as I said, a time sink. It was just an excuse to cut. Right. Yeah. It was always just like, no, I'm having a tantrum. Like I can't control. I'm having an autistic episode where I don't control my emotions, which is like, okay, I get it. You're trying to set up the idea that he needs to master himself before he can master the fist.
Left early, right.
But then you also just use this excuse to not have to do the fist effects, but like 5 times in the
exactly,
show.
Which is
Come
kind of
on,
ridiculous.
man.
Which also leads me into. We'll just go ahead and start talking about Luke Cage too.
Well, one thing I will say
about Iron Fist.
Well, this is the point that led into this, and I was talking about calling it episode or season 5 of Netflix Marvel Netflix. Right. This is why. This is the most annoying thing about all these shows, and this leads into Luke Cage as well. But it was especially apparent in this show to me, anyway. In Iron Fist, because it's the most recent. So technically, this is the 5th season of this shared Marvel Netflix sub-universe, right?
But you can't really treat them separately because it's the same people doing it. It's the same universe.
Right. It takes place some point after the first Avengers, but sometime we don't know if it takes place after the second Avengers or the third Avengers or what.
Or any other Marvel movie.
We don't know where it falls in the timeline.
They just reference the event, which is the aliens showing up
the
in
first
New York
attack
City,
on New York when the aliens show up.
Where the Chitara or whatever show up.
Yeah. And then it's presumed, in my mind, to take place after Captain America 2 because S.H.I.E.L.D.'s not running around solving these problems. So I presume, and nobody mentioned S.H.I.E.L.D., but that's the real problem to me. The problem is they have references when it's convenient, but they don't think them through. Like, for example, in the show, even Rosario Dawson's character, Claire, the nurse, who's seen stuff, is always like, somebody's like Iron Fist, and he's like, yeah, what's that mean? Oh, what, chi? Do you funk? It's like, look, you watched aliens battle a Norse god
it's sort of like,
in the skies where a World War II hero back from the dead.
You've seen a guy who can smell someone from 2 floors away.
Right, yeah.
Bulletproof. She was in Luke Cage too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's all bulletproof Luke Cage. Like, you wouldn't have that much trouble believing anything at that point.
And even average people
it's like
shouldn't
the Scully
be saying
effect. Like, first season or 2, it makes sense. 8 seasons later, when she still is like, no. And it's like, come on, lady. You've seen some insane stuff.
Exactly.
You have an actual condition at this point.
Right. I mean, I understand you were written as the skeptic character, but this is when the characterization is failing.
It starts to not
pedantic.
work. Because now you're just like a weird, like, you're just rejecting what you see.
Right. Now, but it's even worse in this show to me because it's not about a personal character being a skeptic. It's about
the universe.
The whole universe. They have this idea that anytime a new person meets them, they should be like, oh, what?
When everyone would be like, oh, another fucking weirdo in this city.
The only line in that series that was good about that is when he's in the hospital and the doctor says, I got every other bum after the incident saying they got superpowers.
Right.
That made sense.
Because the guy's like, you know what? There are 3 or 4 of these weirdos out there, but every hobo I see, but they still, the level of incredulity is overblown because of that.
Right.
Once you know something like that is possible, all you can say is, well, maybe this is one of those
after
things.
This incident, where aliens attack, as soon as you start doing superpowers, the government's going to be showing up in that
universe.
universe.
Not only aliens attacked, but you had multiple powered characters.
Right.
You know,
and
also
in the S.H.I.E.L.D. already knew about others beyond those known to the public. And once the S.H.I.E.L.D. files get released at the end of Captain America 2, more people in the public know about this.
And it's especially heinous when it's supposed to take place in New York City, because that's where 90% of these stories take place.
Right. It's like people saying terrorism doesn't happen after watching the towers fall.
Right.
No, you
And
retards.
if there was like all these shows take place in New York, all this stuff is like if you were in North Dakota, and some guy's like, yeah, we no, maybe that stuff is fake. He didn't know.
I only saw that on the news.
He saw it on the news. He didn't know what's going on. Like that would make more sense. But these people live through it on what appears to be daily basis,
right?
And they're still sort of incredulous or just unbelievable.
Just a little too much of that.
A little too much.
And a little too much
because they're starting every show like it's the first.
No one's ever heard of superheroes,
even though they reference them.
And that's a smart thing that the movies have not been doing.
Right.
The movies are skipping a lot of that awkward introduction, except for things like Stephen Strange would introduce magic, or somebody's like, I don't believe in magic. I mean, I know
I saw some guy that can fly
with special armor, but magic? Come on, man.
Morph things? Like, yeah, I don't believe that.
Right, yeah. Anyway, but so Luke Cage.
So Luke Cage, my problem with that show was I didn't even finish it. It was too boring.
Oh, yeah?
Like, I would watch, like, the first 3 or 4 episodes, and, like, literally the only thing that happened in, like, 4 episodes is he shielded some guy from being shot.
Well, I think this is the problem.
Like,
that's why I think it seemed bad in Danny Rand in Iron Fist more than others. It has all the same problems that the other shows have, but you didn't notice them because it was the first or second time you'd seen him. But now when it's the 5th time you've seen him, at season 5 of Netflix Marvel, you realize they drag stuff out. They want to get a 13-episode arc out of everything. A full, partial like the modern season length is 13 episodes, right? It's no longer 23. It's like 13. But these should be like these should be 8-episode series. They could do the character arcs that they're doing and the storylines where they introduce them and set up their problems and have them resolve them in 8 episodes, but they drag them out.
Right.
Like, I thought Luke Cage was pretty good. It was
done well, but like nothing happened.
Exact same problem though with
and a whole episode would revolve around like one scene where he'll like punch a door down, and like that was the only thing that really happened the entire episode.
Right.
And for me, Luke
I'm
Cage
surprised.
was also bizarre because he was like incredibly unrealistically reluctant.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you are fucking he doesn't even know the extent to how invincible he is, but he knows nothing that he's ever faced can hurt him at this point.
It's funny.
And he doesn't want to go down to some building and like just like kill this
That
fucking
is actually
guy.
a twist on the character in the comics. In the original one, he gets out of prison, everything like that. Of course, it was set in the 70s when it first came out, so very different.
It had, like, a fro and everything.
Right, but he was also much more gregarious and like, jive talking or whatever kind of thing. And, something that wouldn't fly for normal television now.
Right. Or it would just seem like
it would seem out of place.
It seemed like a caricature.
Right, it would seem like a character. It seemed like he's out of time or whatever. Unless you had some explanation for why he was stuck in
I do like the throwback to where he had to steal clothes. And
right,
have, like,
nice
silk blouse and
right,
everything.
Yeah, exactly. That was pretty much what he looked like in the comics, but they had a little laugh at
because he'd been in prison, so his hair had grown out, and he had like the armbands and the headband on.
Right, exactly.
And then threw on this like silk blouse.
Right.
And he's like, what am I wearing?
But also, that was another dumb thing, too, that I hate about all these Netflix things. They never put him in the costume.
Yeah.
Luke Cage's costume, in current continuity, guess what it is?
It's like the leather jacket, right?
It's a yellow T-shirt. That's it. He doesn't have
yellow.
A symbol. He just wears pants, a yellow T-shirt, and then has like
so
wristbands.
instead of the yellow blouse, they just go to a T-shirt.
They just moved to a yellow
T-shirt. How hard is that to
How
do?
hard is that? He never puts on a yellow T-shirt.
Right.
Danny Rand never wears the Iron Fist costume in the whole series.
Even when he's like in Kunlun.
Even when he's in Kunlun. I understand he was just, at least he's wearing robes, like training,
but
Shaolin robes.
Like, he'll put like a hoodie on and that's it.
Right.
But it goes back to, like you said, it was just probably a cost issue. They're like, we can spend
well, no, I think they're
$5,000
enamored.
to make a few costumes, or we're going to throw some
I think it's not
on.
only that. I think it's that they did well on the first season of Daredevil, and they're aping it so hard.
They don't want to stray.
They don't want to stray from this formula.
But even
it's
he
so
wore
formula.
a costume.
At the last couple episodes, yes.
Yeah.
He finally, like the whole, but they dragged that on too. If you go back and watch Daredevil season 1,
they did drag out.
They drag it out pretty well. The second season is a little less focused of a season, but a lot more happens in that season for Daredevil. The Punisher storyline.
I'm looking forward to that one. I hope that, because I mean, at least he'll fucking kill some people.
But anyway,
and the prison
Luke
fight
Cage,
was still the best part of any of the Marvel shows.
Yeah, like the
where they send the guys to kill him in prison.
Yeah. Oh no, I really like the scene where he meets the Kingpin as well. Like the Kingpin gets up and it's just like starts gorilla ragdolling him. Same thing when Matt Murdock shows up later and he just like
starts Donkey Konging him.
Right, yeah, he just starts like you realize he's not chained. That's an act because he
Right.
owns all the guards and the cameras are watching, and then he just gets out of the chains and
just starts
bodies.
Donkey Konging
Yeah,
him.
exactly. But yeah, the overall, I would say both the Luke Cage and Iron Fist ones are good, but they have the same flaws that all of these are having, is that they're taking what should be an 8-episode series and turning it into 13.
Right.
Or they should have more of a budget so that they can do all the stuff they want to do more condensed, more quickly.
Put a little more risk or
put a little more action risk, whatever, and they have a few formula things that they want to do in this, like to keep it more real and grounded, that are lame. Like, we don't use the costume until the end of the episode season, and sometimes they don't even.
Like, it's going to be some big, now he's in the costume.
What a reveal! Like, come on.
Yeah.
jerk
Right,
offs.
and it might be okay if there's a bunch of other stuff going on, but when it's like nothing's happening anyway, and they won't even
they already
put him
do that in the
costume.
Marvel movies as a nod to realism. Like they're not in costume at all times. Like
Right.
like when he gets attacked at his house, he's gonna be running
Which
around
is
in a
fine.
jacket.
But
Fine.
like when you're like, I'm gonna go storm this office building, sneak in. It's okay if he puts on the costume.
Right, it's a superhero show.
Right.
Like, and also you don't
Remember
have to
your
have that
audience.
moralizing about like we don't kill. Just have him punch some guys, they go down, and you don't worry
Like
about it.
Captain America when he kicks some guy's spine into the rail and he flies off into the ocean.
Right,
like-
you just don't worry
Yeah,
about
I
it.
mean,
Is he
man,
dead?
they
I don't know.
might
He
have
was a
lived.
bad guy.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
figure it out.
But they don't like manufacture these situations where he's like wondering if he should kill him or not.
Right, yeah. Exactly. Not like, it comes across as filler, formulaic filler. Like, it only works in Daredevil because that was a central thing to his character.
Because of the whole legal theme and all that stuff.
Because of his, like, very strict Catholicism and his legal theme. So for him, as a Catholic, he can't be a lawyer and break the law.
Right.
It would be to defy both God and what his profession is, which is to use the law.
He is breaking all the time.
Right. But, I mean, like, him
I know
working
what you
through
mean,
that is part of
right.
the story.
Right.
So it can be dumb, but makes sense for his story. But for
But at
Danny
least,
Rand,
and the good thing is that the show as a whole doesn't really do it. It is just his character.
Right.
Like they do have the Punisher and everyone else killing people like crazy.
right,
so.
yeah. It's like, and the whole point is that sets up, and that's also why they do it with Batman, is it sets up like a harder challenge for
But
the
I just
hero.
don't like that it gets
Like, I have
to
to
the
do it
point, like,
without
even though
killing,
it makes
but-
sense to have the character start out that way, when like you constantly like letting people go and then they come back and kill someone you care about, like it's getting to the point where it's a pathology now. Like
Right.
now you're just literally retarded.
Right, it enters a level of dumbness. But that's
Right.
why in the best superhero story, you just don't worry about it. You
don't
don't
even have to
address
deal
it.
with it,
You
yeah.
just don't show them like
If you're not a character like the Punisher
if
that's
you're-
known for killing people, then you just
have them beat up the bad guys,
guys
and you
laying there
can
on the ground,
presume
and then
that
you never
they've
see
all
them.
been arrested or something.
or they die. Who knows? You just don't have to deal with it.
Right, yeah. And if they get away, like they beat them up and throw them in jail, and then they break out later, it's not like,
They made some weird
they made some
decision.
decision not to kill him. It's just
Right.
like the cops failed and
Or he
they
happened
got
to
out.
survive this brutal assault, so then he ends up in prison, and then he got out
Right,
later.
yeah,
or whatever.
exactly. Or like Crossbones in Captain America. You have to survive.
Right.
You presume dead somewhere. He comes back. He's all scarred and everything, and you're not making a moralizing.
I mean, because they even do that in Punisher with something like Jigsaw or something.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
He wasn't trying to let him live. He just
Right.
fucked him up amazingly badly. And then,
Right.
like,
Yeah. All right. So last one on
Doctor
the
Strange.
comics one is Doctor Strange. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I thought it was, as far as the movies go, I would say it was sort of in the same boat as the shows we're talking about, where like not nearly to the same extent, but it definitely was more of like a less attention paid to it in terms of budget. It didn't seem to hurt it too badly, but it definitely
know if
didn't
that
get
would be
the.
the case,
It
I
didn't
would say
feel to
budget.
me like it got the same push. Like they were a little
Oh,
nervous.
marketing wise, I
That's
think
what
it got
mean.
less of a
Yeah,
budget.
like the
budget
movie
wise
itself,
for visuals and everything,
looked
it was
fine.
on par with all the other
Especially
Marvels.
for like with something that's going to be that like trippy, for lack of a better word, it's going to be hit or miss.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was. If you don't like it, it wasn't because it was bad. It's just you didn't like the style of what they decided to do with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's just up to someone's.
I thought it was cool. I enjoyed it.
I like it. I like the way they dealt with the introduction of magic into the universe, kind
Right.
of, which is kind of tricky, and it's going to cause problems, I think, in the movies.
Well,
because anytime you have these things, you're like, why wouldn't you just have this guy go back in time with his magical time powers?
Right.
You know,
well,
but
the nice
they at
thing
least
about
try to
that is they set up
reasons
the
why it
idea
doesn't work.
that it's one of the gems.
Right.
Your time powers
Right.
comes from the
So-
Infinity Stone, which you're not supposed to mess with because you can break the universe, and also the bad guy is looking for them.
Right. So, they, like
using
I said,
it
they put
makes
constraints
the
on it,
villains
as
aware of it.
opposed to something like Harry Potter, where they're like, we have an invisibility cloak in this movie. Next movie, we just act like it doesn't exist.
Right, yeah.
And we won't use
All
it.
his other magic is more simple,
Or
like
I've
I
been using my time,
levitate,
right.
or
I've
I
been using
shoot
my
a
time
beam
power
of-
to go back in time and make sure I get a class on time, but
Right.
I won't do it to save the universe from the dark forces of evil.
Right, yeah.
Some weird
They set up the
reason.
idea in this one, which I guess we should have said spoilers way on there.
Well, all our shows have spoilers. in it.
right, yeah. The
You put it in the title.
like the whole time thing was a clever way of using it too. The idea that he beats the villain because that villain is some timeless demon from another dimension. A time loop is foreign to him. Like he doesn't understand, and so he doesn't realize he could be trapped in a time loop. So he traps him in a time loop with himself. And but it also sets up the idea that if he ever uses that, he could break reality and damn himself to
Or be
another
stuck
time
in a
loop
time limit
himself,
yeah.
or he doesn't know it yet, but we as the audience know using that stuff alerts villains to its presence,
Right.
just like every other stone
Like
that's been
Soren's
used.
ring or something,
Right, yeah,
they
exactly.
sense it, the
Like
power
all these
now.
other guys are coming for these stones.
And that's literally what they're setting up.
Right, exactly.
Which is interestingly enough. So overall, before I get into that, like I did like Doctor Strange. I thought it was fine. Didn't
Yeah.
blow my mind, but it was good.
I thought
I thought he was a good
several of the
choice.
characters were good choices. Like I was not prepared not to like Tilda Swinton as a choice
Same
at all,
here, yeah.
just because the original Ancient One is a very different take.
Yeah.
But she did a good job, and they took it a different but still workable direction with it, and they set up a different. You can see why they did it, because they not only did they. It wasn't just a case of we want to get Tilda Swinton or somebody weird in here.
Right.
They also wanted to set up a different kind of character, like one that was potentially perceived as a hypocrite by using the power, and so somebody that you had to have sympathy for while also questioning.
At the same time, be like, maybe they're bad. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it was a different kind of
honestly,
character.
I prefer usually to them, if you're going to take a character and change it, to just change it than to try to do like some weird version of it. You know what I mean? And do
Which
it
is
so
what they did. They
badly,
made a completely
which
different
is fine.
character.
I'd rather have them do that most of the time.
Right. Exactly.
Than to just like tweak it a little bit and mess it up. But I thought, what's his name? Benedict Cumberbatch was obviously a good choice for that.
And they obviously changed the character. I mean, you wouldn't know, and other people who aren't fans of the comics, but Itu Ejiofor, or whatever you pronounce his name, he was a weird casting choice for Baron Mordo, but again, they did a completely different version of Baron Mordo in this. So it's not, if you know Baron Mordo in the comics, he's more like a straight up Eastern European baron. He's actually a baron, and like he, occult
Von something,
right? Yeah,
Dutch, whatever.
Yeah, he's basically like, I am master of the occult arts, and you will bow before, very classic.
So more
villain.
like the guy who played the villain in that one, his character in like James Bond or something.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Much more old school cheesy magic,
Right.
whatever, and they went a completely different way
like
with
the
it.
guy from Venture Brothers.
Right, yeah, exactly. More like the guy from Venture Brothers.
What was that guy's name?
Well, that was actually a parody of Doctor Strange.
I know, but I forget his name
like,
in the show.
Mobius or something. Yeah,
the guy was always like, hey!
Yeah,
talking
exactly.
like that.
And but anyway, it was still fine because Itu Ejiofor's a fine actor, and they made
And
a
they can
different.
still make a good
they made a
character
completely
with
different
it.
motivation for him becoming a villain, where
Right.
it's him starting to distrust all other mages.
And
They
be like, we
abuse
just have
their
to ruin-
powers.
Yeah, and like him becoming like a hardliner extremist.
Right. Yeah, like to save the Earth, I must get rid of all the other magic users because they're gonna hurt the Earth, hurt the world by tampering with the laws of nature.
Right.
And so they went a completely different route with it, and so it was fine. And then it was entertaining. I think it will be but that also goes back to one of the things that was disappointing. And I don't mean to harp too much on the Iron Fist, because I think it wasn't as bad as people said. It just was a lot of missed opportunities.
And that's what makes it
because they
almost
didn't
more
want to-
frustrating.
Right. Because
if
like,
you see this has no hope and it's a stinker from
He's
beginning
like-
to end, then it's just forgettable.
yeah, he's like the street level version of, like, his world is into the mystical kung fu stuff. So he should be
Very
fighting guys with
shallowly.
special powers
Yeah.
and stuff like that, more so than the previous characters have. Because when, like, the hand sends, like,
Once
their
they open
ninja
up that
assassins,
box, yeah.
they should be sending, like, the mystical guys from Kunlun has finally come out of their mystical realm to hunt us.
So hey, you
we
in the
better
basement
start
who's been training for 20 years, you got to
Right,
get up here
you,
and kick
you
this guy's
who could
ass.
like freeze people with your Medusa stare. You need to come
Right.
out and like, he'll need to use his chi powers to fight off these things. They don't do any of that,
Right.
you know.
And
like-
that would be a better reason for why his fist kind of fails than just like it's like sputtering out on him.
Right? Yeah, like
Because there's more.
It happens to
me,
every
it
guy
feels like
sometimes.
yeah, exactly.
You
I was
know,
just gonna say it's like some giant erectile dysfunction show.
Right.
Like, I can't get it up for this episode. I gotta focus my energy. It's
Right,
not
yeah.
happening. Like, don't worry.
Some
it happens
breathing
to lots of
techniques,
guys.
and it'll get
Right,
I'll
sit
be
in the
ready.
corner, rest a little bit, and then you'll be ready to go again in a few
Maybe
minutes.
some vitamin E, some celery,
Right.
you know, a little bit of fluids, you know.
Right. So I've got a relapse period, or not a relapse period, with I forget what they call it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But yeah.
Refractory period.
Yes.
That's the word. So his refractory period of his iron fisting was
Right.
way too long.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And there was one part in that where Bakudo stabs him with this special pen thing.
Right.
So you're like, all right, he stabbed him with something.
Right.
But they never go anywhere with that. It's just like a chunk of it's in him, but they don't say it's poison. They don't say it's a tracking device. Obviously, something was cut out there.
I think it was supposed to be one of those like pressure point kind of kung fu things, is what I presume. Like he leaves a piece of metal
Right, to
in a
block his
chakra
chi, but
point
they
to
don't,
block
like,
his thing, but they don't
mention
mention it.
that.
Like that
Right.
would make perfect sense in the world of kung fu.
Like he blocked this nerve nexus, so now he can't summon
Right,
the fist.
right,
Because
and
it's,
it's totally
it's
futile.
obviously purposeful that he stabbed him right there and left a piece of that thing behind.
Right,
It,
it was
wasn't
some
like a
device
knife. It
meant
was
to
some
leave
device
behind,
and
yeah.
it left a little note.
It
So-
even shows him like pull it out
Right.
in like a like, you know, it has a cutaway showing him pull out this weapon. You're like, what
Looks
kind
like
of
an
weapon is
arrowhead,
that?
kind of, yeah.
And then all of a sudden he like stabs him and then retreats from the fight, and then
and it's like, cool. You know he's done that.
you know
on
he's done that
purpose.
on purpose. Like he wounded him there for a
And
reason.
instantly he can't summon the fist.
Right.
And they pull this piece out that looks like the like explosive arrowheads from Rambo or something.
Right, yeah.
And they don't mention it. It's not a track. I thought it was going to be a tracker.
I presumed it was just like a device, like a knife with a breakaway tip, meant to leave behind
Which
something
that
that
appears
blocks
that's what
his
they did.
chi.
That appears what they
Which
did.
goes
but
with all the acupuncture and everything else that's in that kind of mysticism. You know, like it'd be
they
like
should have been like, oh, he stabbed me in my the 8th chakra. I can't
Right, yeah.
summon the fist now.
Right, exactly. I must heal, and yeah, exactly. Which, that's fine, but they overuse that, as we've already harped on
And they
several
didn't
times.
explain that that's what happened. So
Right, in
this
that
seems like
particular
more of a
instance.
case of him like, I got a boo-boo, I can't use my powers now.
Right, yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, how useful is this thing?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah, but that was funny.
I mean, he's supposed to be able to, like, in the comics, he and Luke Cage pal around a lot.
Right.
And he's supposed to be able to stand and fight alongside Luke Cage, who's freaking bulletproof.
He's invincible, yeah.
Because he can summon these crazy kung fu powers and,
make his hand
punch
basically invulnerable,
a pillar
too.
in
Yeah,
half
and
or
make
something.
his hand invulnerable, basically.
Yeah. And, well, not just invulnerable, but he can also, like, dragon punch and crap. Like,
Well,
in the
that's what I
comics,
mean.
there's, like, trails of energy as he,
Right.
like dragon punches or, like, does some sort of
Like
special
a
move.
lightsaber hand, basically. Or
Right,
something.
yeah. Or, not quite, like, cut through anything, but, like, release energy upon contact.
Right.
Not just my hand doesn't break. Ooh, I'm Luke Cage on one
You can, like,
portion of my
Hadouken
bunny.
stuff
But, yeah,
and
you can,
yeah.
like, punch open a car door because of, like, concussive energy just, like, ruptures
Well, like,
it.
and they use that once. He punches the floor and, like,
Right,
and
yeah.
shakes the whole place up.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that was the extent of their budget. They
Right,
blew
exactly,
everything for the
yeah.
whole...
That and Harold Meacham suits.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Ward and Harold Meacham suits
Oh,
cut
Ward
the
Meacham
budget.
is what I meant.
Yeah,
Ward
yeah.
Meacham. And that was it.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Anyway,
So that was the Marvel.
that's the Marvel Universe recent movie universe recaps.
Right. Cool deal.
Yep.
So we can go in a totally different direction. One thing I wanted to mention, and I think I mentioned this to you.
Okay.
It's just interesting. This isn't really like a promotion or anything, but I've been having fun with it. But there used to be a website. It was called UBet or something like that, where you could
You were
make
telling me some
futures
about this, yeah.
predictions.
Okay.
Sort of in the way you would do options trading in the markets, but it was all based on like something happening, like who's going to win an Oscar, sports stuff, politics
Gotcha.
stuff,
You're
and you would
betting
buy
on
shares
outcomes of
on
real-
these. Well, you'd buy shares of an event.
Okay.
And whether or not the event happened, it would pay out. But even before it happened, if news came out that it was more likely the shares would go up and down based on that. And
Funny
you could
how
sell
much the real business market's
Right,
been on
exactly.
these rumors and dumb crap.
And you could
Or the
you could
news
share them.
affects the
You wouldn't
shares,
have to-
not the
It would be like
reality.
betting, but you wouldn't have to wait till the event to cash out. You could sell it before or after, whether
You're
it was
cashing out based on your certainty presumption of how
Right.
close, like, it is. to
But
happen.
and this was an Irish company that was eventually U.S. blocked people from being able to use it because they said it's betting. So
Right.
the company basically folded because most of its users, were United
Yeah.
States citizens.
The citizenship of Ireland is a lot smaller than the
And I
overall
think it seems like it was just a U.S. company that purposely created there
Maybe,
because
yeah,
I don't see any reason why they wouldn't have been able to survive if all along they'd been courting European people.
That's true.
But it just doesn't seem like that's what
Seems
they've
like they
done.
were courting
and they
events
caught them
in
off
the
guard
US.
and they like collapsed their business model because they'd originally planned to come back
gotcha.
with Europe.
But anyway, this is just leading
So
into...
that disappeared. They got
Okay.
killed by a stupid U.S. I don't know what you call them, like
Gambling
vice laws
law,
or
vice,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. Now there's a new company called Predictit, which is almost the same thing, except it's exclusively politics. And the reason that they're allowed to take U.S. customers right now is because it's being done by a university in New Zealand for the ostensible purpose of studying the hypothesis that betting markets, that like free betting markets, are more predictive for political events than simple polling. So you're allowed to
So they got
participate in
dispensation
this,
from the government
to say
do
it's
so.
okay because we're actually doing a study
'Cause they
on this,
want to
and it's
know.
exclusively to politics because obviously doing that study for like sporting events or Oscars doesn't really make sense.
Or the government wouldn't care.
The government
so
wouldn't care,
they
and it
wouldn't-
doesn't
they
really
wouldn't
make
let it
sense
hide,
that like
yeah.
you can predict those things necessarily in the same way that you could predict.
Well, it doesn't make sense. You have to worry about it the same way. Like this is trying to compare that
What's the most
you can
accurate way?
you can monitor the mood of the populace by where they put their money instead of by how
more
they
so
answer
than just what
polls.
they tell you, right?
Right. Whereas sports is different because sports depends upon ostensibly the outcome of the skill of the participants,
Right.
not the mood
Exactly.
of the people
right.
involved.
Where the result is also directly related to the mood of the people in
Right.
politics.
Right.
Whereas
For
like
and of anything that you're voting on.
yeah,
anyway.
so seeing what they think about it ahead of time is important. We're
Right.
seeing what we think ahead of time about the Super Bowl is not important because that one guy may have a bad day, and our thoughts don't affect his play, whereas the thoughts of the group do affect their voting patterns.
Right.
So, anyways, it's interesting because you can do it now. What they've done to try and make it like less like betting is you can't do more than $850 on any single quote unquote bet. And that's, for one reason, that's just to try and make it not seem like it's some huge vice. And also for a sort of realistic reason that when you're talking about events like, will this person do whatever for this, in this upcoming vote or whatever, if you could make it possible that like millions of dollars could be riding on the line, they could potentially do it on purpose to make their bets come
They
in.
could bet on themselves if they find out about it.
But at the same time, I think limiting it to $850 also limits the utility in figuring out the hypothesis in question, because people aren't going to care as much when they have $4 or $5 bets. They're just going to be kind of doing it.
$850 max per person.
Per person per bet.
Right. Well, that still makes sense. You would have
bet.
to limit it per person, because otherwise you get the weighting. You see, like, oh man, look how much money's in this. And it could be like 3 guys who did all the money on that event, versus you're trying to get a wide sample.
Like I was saying, and if the more money some person has on there, the more chance there is that shenanigans could be involved. Like if one person could stand to win $5 million off an outcome going a certain way, then someone might be.
Well, even with no shenanigans, it's skewing your data, because that's one person's $5 million opinion.
Exactly. So it'll weight the line. One person making $1 million bet, even if they're not involved with like rigging it.
Right.
Even like you have 1,000 people might think the opposite, but they're only making $1 bets.
Right. So it's skewing your data.
Right. So both of those are reasons. But it's fun. I mean, I'm not. There's no affiliate program or anything, but if you, sadly, because I like promoting it, but if you want to sign up, I think it's STW50 was the latest promo code, and they just match your $50 original deposit, and you have to wait like a month or 2 to withdraw it, but you don't even have to bet. You can just sign up, deposit 50, wait a month, and withdraw 100.
Yeah.
So, but they have things like, what's weird is that it's skewing really, like some people are crazy. Like the odds right now, the way it works is you get shares and they add up to $1. The yes and the no add up to $1.
Okay.
So say like one of the things is, will Donald Trump be president at the end of the year? Like will he pass into 2018 as president? Which is like
impeached or something.
Right, impeached, dead, doesn't matter. If anything happens, then the no is the one that wins. Which is like, obviously it's pretty likely that he's gonna, but right now it's like 77% only for yes, and I'm like, that's so low,
right? Yeah,
so
in comparison
low.
to the.
So I obviously put my shares on that one, but the way it works is, so right now it's 77 cents for a yes share. When the event happens, the yes shares all become worth $1, and the no shares become worthless. And the opposite happens. So if he were to die, then the no shares would all pay out at $1, and the yes shares would become worthless.
So it costs more to get the yes share, but it's highly more likely than the no share.
More likely. It should be like a 99% chance.
Right. Yeah.
So you get.
Well, that seems like an odd one versus their hypothesis. Is, I mean, obviously they still want to. They're trying to take over.
But at the
polling.
same time, there's no way for our opinions to affect this outcome.
Right. That's not a polling that really matters, because it's not like a polling about like
there's a lot of
voting topic.
I mean, there
or a topic of like, I'm about to pass a law or put in a bill. Right. Is this going to ruin my career because people don't like this idea? Or
I think
not?
there's a couple reasons for the why they have things like that in there that don't really fit.
Calibration, maybe.
Well, first of all, if you only have 1 or 2 things that you can bet on in there, no one's going to use it.
Yeah.
Like if you just say who's going to win in 2020, and I have to wait 4 years to figure it out, I'm not going to go bet on that thing.
Yeah, we don't even know who's going to.
So
be
they
the
have
next
some
candidate.
of the things you can bet on, like how many tweets will Donald Trump tweet. That obviously doesn't fit into that hypothesis paradigm, because first of all, like I said, the mood of the country has no bearing.
Right.
And there's no way for us to actually know. So they just. And I think some of it's just them,
but
it is
honestly,
a money-making venture, so they're trying to.
And also they're trying to prove, their hypothesis is not to prove the mood of the country, but that their polling works better.
Right.
So they will use odd things like that, I guarantee you, just to see that their numbers end up being better predictors than not.
And also maybe to show as a control group. Like
right.
Here's people randomly betting on something that the mood of the country has no effect on, like how much he tweets, right. Versus like an election where the people who are betting are also going to be the ones who are voting.
Ostensibly will be voting as well.
They're betting and they're answering polls. We'll see which one is more likely. And to compare that to something where they're betting on, but they can't control it.
Can't affect the outcome.
So that they could probably argue it that way. But I think the main reason is probably, like I said, that if you just had elections up there and that's it,
yeah.
Like I'm not going to.
And we're not near any elections right now, except for local
exactly.
stuff.
I mean, you can still bet on the 2020, but like, yeah, why am I going to do that?
At that point, you're just saying, Trump or Democrat. You don't even have somebody to say who's going to be the candidate yet.
But it's very interesting. So I mean, obviously, I think that's a good chance of that he's going to be president at the end of the year.
At the end of this year,
more than a 75% chance.
I don't think people understand how stuff works, because people think like, oh, he could mess him so bad and get impeached. It's
it doesn't work that way.
Well, I mean, it could, but how many presidents does that actually happen to?
And even being impeached, he would have to also resign or whatever. Like only a couple
would have
been
to go
impeached.
through.
One of them didn't even work. Like Clinton, he stayed president.
Right.
Nixon resigned without actually going through the process.
Right.
I think there was one other who got impeached.
Right, but I mean, like the process could take,
and that's in hundreds of years.
He would have to be killed. He would have to be killed.
He would have to die or be assassinated, which is possible, but it's unlikely. Certainly not a 20 or 30% chance of that happening within the next 8 months.
Despite recent scandals and such,
but that's good.
the Secret Service is pretty good at their job.
There's value in that money. know what I mean?
Exactly.
So that's what so I put my money on that one.
Right. It's just funny to me that
I also
skews that
won
way.
on the one that it was like, will the new healthcare with ACHA pass by the 31st or by the 24th or whenever they did the vote?
Mm-hmm.
And I was getting like 89% no, and I was like, there's no way it's happening. So I put money on that and made a couple bucks or something.
Yeah,
so.
you put in 89,
now, the
you
thing
get $1.
the concern is though that you basically, if the event goes no or a yes, depending on which one you have, if it goes the opposite way, you just lose all that money.
Right.
So it's not like buying a stock, but like
Right.
you can theoretically sell before it happens.
Mm-hmm.
But if there has to be a buyer who's willing to buy it, and it has to be still a possibility. Like if something, they say one of the bets is Trump going to throw out the first pitch on opening day of baseball or whatever.
Right.
So he could come out and say, no, I'm not going to do it. And
I have a scheduling conflict.
Right.
I'm
And
not
since
going.
the deadline hasn't happened yet, those shares would still be open for selling, but no one's going to buy them. So you
Right.
won't really be able to cash out.
Right.
And if you do, it would only be at a penny because someone's like, I'll take the chance of getting 100 times my money that maybe he changes his mind.
Right. Yeah.
But you'd have to find someone willing to do that. So while theoretically you can buy and sell at any point, you have to have a buyer.
It's funny just that
It's a pretty intriguing way.
I'm not that much of
doing
a betting guy, but it's intriguing for the sake of the hypothesis. Like,
Exactly.
you know, like
that is interesting to see
predicting-
what real data. And what's funny to me is that, like, obviously, I think this is some kind of a clever loophole to make money, but it doesn't preclude them from doing real data collection. Like, they can all simultaneously get real data and do it exactly like they say they are, and still make money with a hilariously like loophole-ish gambling website.
Well, this leads me to one of my topics. Speaking of data collection, I was reading up on. Well, this is going in a different direction than you're probably thinking. I was reading up on in the news recently. Sears has been in the news
because they're shutting down.
because they're almost they're
Immolating.
insured. Yeah, exactly. Like predicted bankruptcy within the next year or so.
one of the largest retailers in the country for years.
Yeah, well, it became one of the largest after the current owner, like some guy called Lambert or something like that, if I remember his name.
Christopher Lambert.
No. They might actually have a chance then, because
Right.
apparently this guy is just ruining it. But this guy,
I don't
something
think he would
Lambert.
do better.
No, trust me, hear me out on this
he's
story.
like ludicrous.
This guy was some sort of hedge fund manager,
Okay.
big business,
High
financial
finance.
stuff, high finance stuff. And had been fairly successful with that, but there's some little scandals and stuff like that surrounded
Okay.
it. And then at some
Surrounding
point,
him personally or the business?
both. Some little things. Like,
So
well,
he's
his
a
business
shitbag and
grow, his hedge fund or whatever, like LLC Holdings, I can't remember what it is, FLC Holdings or something like that, grew like 20% over a couple different years, being one of the biggest growing ones or whatever. It's like a mutual fund, kind of. So I'm not familiar enough with this stuff to
His
say it
original
accurately.
hedge fund?
Yeah, and like
Okay.
that he started out of school and like 10 years ago. So like about 10 years ago, his hedge fund oversaw the purchase of Kmart and Sears, and they
By
merged
who?
them. His group.
Oh, his hedge fund is bought like a controlling
Or
share
like
or whatever?
his financial group or whatever, and he became eventually
An
a little bit
investment
after
firm.
that the CEO of that new Sears
so they
Kmart
bought it and
merged
they put him
company.
in place at
They bought it,
heading.
then a few years later he became the CEO, like they put him in charge of
Okay.
it, and they became the largest shareholder, and then he's in charge of it. Well, apparently, main headquarters for Sears companies, now both Sears and Kmart, ever since that acquisition, it's all owned by
Both
the same company.
stinkers, if you ask me.
Well, this is apparently why is he owns it. In 2009, his big idea was to do a loyalty program called Shop Your Way, which if you've ever been to Sears or Kmart, they do that now. But it's purely
haven't.
based on the idea of like just like the punch cards or like buy, get points back.
Standard, typical
Same thing with
rewards
it.
card.
But
of
theirs
some
is
kind.
really obnoxious. It slows down, like people are talking about it, slows down the checkout line significantly.
And one of those that if you don't have the card, it's like, why even go in there? Because it's so weird.
Well, and it's
otherwise.
also, it's not even that so much. It's not like some where it's like they have an advertised price. Like, look, it's only $1 if you're a part of our club.
And really, it's $175,
Really-
like CVS or something.
Yeah, it's not even like that. It's really just that you get some benefits, like you get points towards like coupons and
But it's
discounts.
all convoluted.
But it's all convoluted, and it doesn't really give you that much of a point. And they just overall stop investing in repairing their infrastructure. So clearly, he's just hoarding this money. He lives in some like $38 million mansion on a private
Taking
island
his
in Miami.
$50 million a year or
Right,
whatever.
and he doesn't even go into work. He conferences in. He does not set foot at all in the Illinois campus headquarters
So
of
he just
Sears.
voted himself basically into position to soak up as much money out of
Right,
this before
and
leaving.
he like has all sorts of weird stories coming out of it from these things where it's like the people who are running teleconferences and they'll be doing the reports, they're told by like their managers, don't call them customers, call them members, because he gets triggered if you call them customers because they're members. They're members in our program, our Shop Your Way program. Well, his big idea was that he was so enamored with Apple and
He was trying to capture something.
he was trying to capture data, customer data, and sell it off, and that would be their business model. They could have a light asset company. It's like, dude, you run fucking retail.
Yeah, you have a
You
giant
to,
retail mega
chain.
shops, and
Like,
you're trying to make your money off of selling the data of the customers.
right. And to me, this is just indicative. There's so many things out there where these people would be bankrupt if they didn't have enough money. It's the same problem with like our country in general. It's like they can hide their problems behind millions of dollars of cash. They can't fail
I was
yet.
saying this to someone else.
They can hide their
recently, and
stupidity,
was like,
you know.
There's certain things that these mega companies, and this goes for governments and certain individuals as well, can get away with by, due to their size.
Too
and
big
where
to
they
fail,
like
as they
something
call
like
it.
Apple, they've gotten to where they are because of doing everything really well, or at least certain things really well. But now the people who are in charge are basically standing on the shoulders of these giants, and they have this behemoth that they're running poorly, but it's so powerful
so
that
much
it can
momentum.
absorb a lot
If
of
nothing
that,
else, it has
but only
momentum.
for a time. There's
Right.
there's
Everything
a limit
dies
to which,
eventually if you keep killing it.
and then if you've gotten to this thing that's become a super onerous, complex machine that more increasingly dwindling part of the business has to actually support,
Yeah.
it becomes harder and harder to scale that back when you
revise it.
finally realize what's
Or
going
to
on.
pump start the engine
And it's the
again.
same thing with the government. Like at this point, to get back to where we would be like at parity with the budget and everything, you'd have to eliminate so many things.
Yeah.
Because they just inflated.
That's the thing that people don't think about when they look at the government and like the debt specifically,
Right.
and that kind of stuff, and they think it's not a problem yet. So like, quit freaking out about the debt. We can always just print more money.
Like
it's
I'm
like
saying, it's like
well,
jumping out of
okay.
an airplane is an okay way to get to the ground because the equivalent is them saying, well, it's working so far.
Right, yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it will work fine until you splat into the ground. The problem is now that you realize that that's eventually going to happen, there's no way to climb back up to the plane.
Right, and another
You're
way
done.
to put it is you could get to the point where the debt is not catastrophically ruining you yet, but we're the point we are now, like you said, the amount of things we would have to slash, the cure is worse than the disease. Like
least
you get
in
to
the
the point
short term.
in the well, yeah, I mean, like
Long term, obviously, that's what has to happen.
long term, it is what has to happen. But the point is that like you can let it go to the point where you have to cut off an arm to cure the disease. You can't
Right.
just take
And
antibiotics.
at this point, like doing quote unquote the right things is initially going to cause way worse results than just adding another $5 trillion to the debt or whatever.
Right,
So
yeah.
that's what they do because
Right.
no one wants to be the one to, and that's probably what Trump.
It's like they forgot to take their antibiotics, so the finger's going to go, and they're like,
Right.
well, that's painful, so let's just wait it off
I'll
for a
take
little
more
while.
heroin to get rid of that pain.
And it's like, well, now the hand's got to go. It's like,
Right.
that's
But that's really going to hurt.
That's
I
really
better
gonna
take
hurt. I
a lot
better
of
take a lot more.
heroin.
No,
Yeah.
now the arm's got to
Right,
go.
exactly.
Maybe
like,
I
the
better
longer
take some
you
more.
wait-
Yeah. Eventually, it's gonna hit the head, buddy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Eventually, the necrosis will get so deep and the rot so complete that you'll have to have some.
But
sort of
anyway, with
complete
this-
restructuring.
Sears one, what was so infuriating to me is because I've seen this various other places I work is that a company or a leader or somebody like that, somebody you can't say no to, right? They
No
get
matter
this-
how dumb they are.
Right, you get this dumb idea and they can't see the truth of it, and it's so obvious to me, like, okay, this guy wants to be like Apple and Microsoft is the companies he's citing. You know why Apple and Microsoft are like that? Because
data
they're
company-
like that.
yeah, 'cause they're
because
data
they do
companies.
different things than you.
Right.
And you know why they do different things? They're in a different market than you.
Right.
And they do things. And if you want to be
Different
Apple
product,
or
different
Microsoft,
market. Yeah.
go be them. Close Sears and build a software company, and then you
Yeah,
can
but
be
you
data
can't run
collection.
a fucking tire shop and a
Right.
general department store like a tech giant.
Right. Because it's not
It's
tech.
not, and vice versa.
Right.
You know, they couldn't
Yeah.
do it that way.
It's like, what are you thinking? Are you a retard? How has this
I
guy
mean,
got so much
obviously-
money in the world?
They get good at what, and this was, I think Cernovich mentioned something like this too. Like you have people who will be very successful in one particular area, and they'll think that eventually they think it's them. And
Yeah.
and they think that they can go be successful at anything. And to
I got the
some
magic
extent,
touch.
like if someone's smart and intelligent and dedicated, you can be successful in
This is
multiple
a prime
areas.
example of
but
it doesn't
not,
always work.
But not if you just think that it's you and that you can do no wrong.
Right.
So like people, and his specific example was people like who are in personal development type stuff, like a Tony Robbins or something. They'll get really good at getting people fired up at whatever aspect of life that they focus on, and then they'll think that they can go into like investment advice or different relationship advice or date, when that's not their
Right.
thing, and they're bad at it,
Right.
and they think that it's just them.
You can rouse a
just-
crowd,
right,
but you
exactly.
can't.
Or
You
and maybe
can't
what they're
actually
talking
change a-
about is completely correct in that one aspect of personal development.
That's true. Yeah. Even if it's
And that's usually what it is because that's why they've gotten popular. Is they're good at something.
Right. They're
And this
hitting
guy
some-
is obviously I mean, he could just be a fraud who is bolstered by family money or something, but most likely he at least knows hedge fund stuff.
My
You know what I
second
mean?
point was going to be, this is one of the problems with our economy in general, is you can be 100% excellent at financial markets.
Right.
Financial markets don't produce anything. They just manage
And
already
at this
made
point, they're
stuff.
completely abstract from normal business
Right.
operations.
They're
It's
not
like
even
high
tied to
frequency
real
trading,
money. They're not tied to
real performance, even most of the
performance,
case. Yeah.
Like that's the one big problem with our
Well, and
stock
the act
market.
of just managing and trading the financial instruments themselves is a complete industry, completely separate from the companies that they're supposedly basing these
Right, it's like
instruments on.
we've forgotten that money isn't a purposeful abstraction of value.
Well, it's not a wealth in and of itself. They're,
Right.
They're treating
It's just
like,
a note that says this is easier to trade this note that
Right.
represents something versus actually trading sheep,
like a sold
goats,
resold
bars of iron,
mortgage,
whatever.
backed security is not the same thing as like
A house.
or just a business.
Right.
You know, like a grocery store that's
Right,
making
like,
money based on selling
It
physical
is,
goods.
it is necessary to have, like,
Well, they're useful.
money of some kind.
Yeah,
you know?
you need a currency.
You need a currency because otherwise you'd be bogged down in
You
like
can't do literal
bartering.
all
right.
the time. Yeah.
And not only that, but a host of other
when
reasons.
you start
but,
treating a paper dollar bill as the same as like a lump of iron, like
Right.
literally, not
Right.
that it represents the same because it does, but
well,
literally
that's its
treating
only
it as
purpose
the same
is to represent the same. But once you
Exactly.
start forgetting that
And
start
it
thinking
becomes
that
wealth in
I'm
and
a
of itself.
businessman because I can manage financial markets and money.
And not only the dollar, but then all
No,
these
man.
weird instruments based on that, and based on what someone else is doing with that, and based on what they're doing with the other thing that the other person's doing.
And the other thing that people forget so much-
nightmare that we
Yeah,
have.
and the other thing that people forget so much beyond that abstraction problem and forgetting how these things work together.
What
is
really
that-
creates wealth.
Well, they forget the human side of it too.
Oh, yeah,
If
that's
you're
such a
if
big
you're
problem.
leading people, it takes actual leadership. It's not just about making money. You have to like you can buy a horse, right? And
Yeah.
use that horse to do some sort of labor, like pull a cart that makes you money. And then you're going like, look, I'm making money. But you still got to take care of the horse.
Right.
You got to feed it, groom it, whatever. There's still you're taking care of a living creature at some point.
Right.
You're
And
relying
not only
upon
that,
a living
but-
creature to do
But
labor.
a lot of times they will completely disregard the behavior element.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and a horse works too. Like, you can't map out a plan that includes the horse like working for 24 hours a day and not ever having a tantrum or whatever, never pooping or,
Or
whatever.
never taking a break and
same-
eating or whatever.
Yeah,
you
and
know,
same
like
with the people. Like, so any model of the universe that doesn't include a realistic view of human behavior is bound to fail.
Right.
And like they create these weird models that don't have any allowance for what people are going to do in reaction to any of these things. And you see this with the government too, where they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, we'll just make taxes 75%, and based on the numbers, we'll make this much more." It's like, no, you actually make less because at a 75% tax rate, people just leave,
Right.
Or they don't bother trying to get a promotion.
There's no
'cause they'll
point
make
going to
less
work
money.
because you're only
Yeah.
going to make 25% of
Or
what
they'll
you
just leave
labor
the state.
for.
In New Jersey, a year or two ago, the entire state had to refigure its budget because one billionaire moved.
Yeah.
Because that's what happened. Like I explained it to people, I'm like, people generally do what you pay them to do. In this case, you're paying that guy to leave. You're
Right.
paying him
He will
millions
make
of dollars.
more money
You're
to
paying
go
him
away.
millions of dollars. You say you make X dollars if you stay here. You make millions of dollars more than that if you just move to the next state over.
Right.
Even just legally move. You may not
Right.
even spend any time there.
Right.
And like,
Yeah.
what would you do for $1 million? Okay, probably a lot of heinous things.
For that much
Oh,
money,
this guy
he
has
would
to do
actually
it.
pack up and
Right.
move, but he doesn't even have to do that. He can just
Right.
declare his residency,
And
buy a
spend
new house.
6 months a year there. Or whatever.
He can buy a new house even for a couple million and
Right.
still make
And
money,
still make
quote
a ton of
unquote,
money.
by saving all the monies that he would have lost.
And the same goes for these businesses that just come up with these weird programs without realizing, like, what's this going to look like on the customer or, I'm sorry, the member level.
Right, yeah. Like, why should I care?
You're
You
a
know?
fucking member.
Right, yeah. Exactly. Dingus.
Yeah, dick.
Yeah. No, it was flabbergasting. I mean, because,
Yeah.
of course, this is just reporting hearsay. I have no firsthand knowledge of this stuff, but I'm not surprised because you see those stores being garbage now compared to what they used to be.
And they're floundering. And
They're
instead of
floundering.
saying, like, and you see this almost with something like this, not even necessarily failing, but like a McDonald's, when they start to get like less people going or less people spending money, instead of being like, what's the core things here? Let's refine, figure out why people are going, why they stopped going. They're just like, oh, now we're going to add 15 more menu items. Now we're going to do this other weird thing. And they just try to like bread and circus their way out of it. And I'm like,
Right,
that's
yeah.
not working.
Right, yeah. And that's another thing, too, is sometimes people need to accept that not everything goes up and to the right for all time. Sometimes you do have to batten
It's
down the
literally-
hatches.
The way that this modern economy is set up, that's the expectation.
Yeah, I know.
Continual exponential growth forever.
Right.
And that makes sense.
And they get mad and crazy
Somehow.
if it's not hitting their, like, you know.
Well, I've always thought that was so baffling to me that like a business, a massive business, could in single-digit percentage moves either way would make or break them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's
How are you
can
running your business?
Yeah, how can you? But that was because
I
the
understand.
government and the economy had set expectation of literally continual exponential growth.
Right.
not only does the economy not have to contract, but if it doesn't grow by at least 3, 4, 5%, it's
You're
a
screwed.
disaster.
Right.
I'm like, that's no way to run. That's not sustainable.
No, it's not.
And
because
like I said, people
storms
look at
come,
and the
famine comes,
main,
whatever. You know,
the biggest problem is that the cycle that proves that this doesn't work is longer than a human lifespan. That's the biggest problem. Like,
but not that long.
Not that much longer. Not long enough that we should know better. But I'm
Right.
saying, like, most people have lived their entire lives in this system.
It's
like,
actually,
basically, we're falling from the airplane for our entire lives and thinking that this system works.
Right.
Because we haven't hit
it's
the
actually,
ground.
it's not even
even
that.
though we've seen other people
It's more
do
like
it.
falling down a cliff, like that Simpsons episode where it's like, ow, ow.
Right.
It's like, so far we haven't hit the bottom, but we've hit little ledges, and we forget it on the way to the next ledge.
Yeah, like, bam, that ruined me. And like, oh, when I'm flying so easily now and I'm getting there really quick,
Right.
this must work.
Right. Yeah.
Bam, they hit again.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly. You know,
yeah.
because we've had recessions and bumps,
That's true.
70s, 80s,
Right.
90s .com bubble, the recent 2008. Like, it happens
Well,
every
like I
10,
said,
20
every
years.
time they just give themselves another shot of heroin instead of doing what needs to be done.
Right.
So they're just
Like,
like, that was painful.
we
but
haven't hit
it
the s-
gets fixed every time I just shoot up again.
Right, yeah. We haven't hit the spikes at the bottom, but we're not
Right.
being currently pummeled by this cliff
And I
face.
feel okay.
So
I feel pretty
okay.
high now.
Right, falling through the air feels great for these few minutes. So
Right. Pretty ridiculous. Okay, then leading on, that goes into one of my other subjects. It is tangentially related to businesses not understanding either the tech, either the people, or just what forces are literally at play here. Is YouTube is kind of just like chimping out, for lack of a better word,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's going nuts.
they
It's being
also
like,
seem to be like
"Wah!"
tearing at the roots of their own success.
Well, that's what I mean. They're literally gutting what made them what they are
Right.
in effort to apparently to appeal to the large corporate entities that want to compete with the independent content creators.
But instead of making like their own Hulu or some like
Well, that's what one of the guys that I
content-specific
watch his channel,
system?
Sticks Hexenhammer, that was his thing. He's like, what? It's obvious that the big corporations are setting themselves up to move away from TV.
Right.
But they're trying to invade YouTube, which is an existing, very different platform.
Right.
Specifically suited and developed by independent content creators. And they're trying to invade it with like produced shows and things like that, and they want YouTube to partner with them and push out these
Right.
other entities so that they don't compete with them.
Right.
And we're seeing that with these new restrictions on
These are not
content restrictions.
These are hurtful to our advertisers. So
Right,
because
because a lot of people see these videos being blocked. Because right now, YouTube, for those of you who don't know, if you don't literally go on and sign up with your channel name, which most people are already signed in, so they don't see it if they're a big user.
But if you're not on your home computer, or
not on
something.
your home computer, or you're not a common YouTube user,
Right.
if you just go on there, they will block a vast majority of content. Now it's called restricted mode. And originally, people thought it was based on political censorship, like right-leaning people would be
But it
more
seems to be
censored.
more like
But I don't really
PG.
think that is. It's
Yeah.
just they're making a very like super safe version where like no politics at all, no any sort of violence, no any sort of drug use, no sexuality, no adult content, no adult language.
If it
They're
ain't
just
Sesame Street, it ain't going, yeah.
pacified. Right, if it's not Sesame Street. And the bottom line is what he was saying, what this guy Sticks Hexenhammer is saying, is that right now people think like, oh, my content's not objectionable, so I don't have to worry about it. The bottom line is eventually these corporate people are going to create the same kind of content as whatever you're doing, whether it's makeup
And
reviews,
they'll find some reason
and
to
they'll want
get
to
rid of
push
your-
you out, even
Right.
if that's just the only reasons that you're making
People
the same
always
content.
forget, like it's
Right.
not really about objectionable. The people making millions of dollars do not care
It's about money. Yeah,
objectionable.
and obviously YouTube and Google are massively left-leaning. They do care about the PC and the political stuff, but that's not what this issue is about. This issue is about a paradigm shift from TV and stuff like the music companies and all these massive conglomerates
part of
that
it
control
is the
media
problem that
battling the independent
part of it
content
is the
creators.
problem that the internet ad world has been bad for a long time. I've talked to you
It's
about
trying to
this.
shake out.
Well,
yeah.
it's been too cheap. For example,
Right.
to buy an ad on the internet is kind of pricey for like an average person who's trying to like advertise their
It's
site.
not even that it's too cheap, but the gulf between like traditional advertising and how much money can be made from that,
Right.
and how much it costs to advertise for millions of more people, even
Right,
but
that's
do it
my
via
point.
online.
Like you can get millions of views. You're paying something in the order of like 10 grand or something for like a really
Yeah, like,
expensive
if you went to
internet ad.
PewDiePie,
Right.
who has 53 million subscribers, and he has, each of his videos maybe makes 5 or 6 million views. It's like a random video he makes.
Yeah.
So you're getting 5 or 6 million. If you were to pay him to say something, maybe it was 10 grand. I don't know.
Well, I'm not even talking about direct with him. I'm saying like
But
you're
I'm just
paying for those
saying-
ads to go in front, and you pay
those
for
are
an
the same no
impression.
matter what,
But
yeah.
right, but I mean, say it's 10 cents, 5 cents, 1 cent an impression,
And you get
right?
to control it even.
And you get to control who it appears in front of.
Right, it's laser-targeted.
Laser targeted versus like paying to be on television.
A late
It's
night
still
cable
millions
show,
of dollars
or maybe 50
for
grand.
just throwing it out there and hoping.
that a few thousand people.
With
no real knowledge of if it even does.
Right.
Like with the internet, you can see exactly how many people see your ad, how many people
what parts of the country or world,
who they are, who's clicking on it, where they're coming from. It's like. It's hilarious that anyone would ever choose to do any other form of advertising.
Right. But the problem is
unless you're trying to go after groups that don't use the internet.
But that's becoming a smaller and smaller part of America, at least.
Right.
Still a big part of the world, to be sure. But for the most part, those people aren't seeing television ads either.
Right.
So the point is that...
And how difficult is it to, you can't take 10 grand and advertise all over the world.
Right.
On television.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean?
My point is that they're not making enough money off of internet ads, so they're starting to court the businesses as direct things. Like, finally, these businesses are moving in to the digital media space wholeheartedly, but instead of doing it by bringing up to parity,
because they didn't realize what was going on.
Right, all of their infrastructure money is sunk into television and film, and it was where all the money went, even as it was losing its ground.
Right, so they're looking at, a car commercial on TV and saying, hey, this guy's paying millions to do this car commercial, whereas six-pack shortcuts or whatever is only paying this much to advertise online, so we need to go after the car thing. It's like, no, what's really happening is six-pack shortcuts is not retarded. He's getting way more value for his money advertising online. So that's what he's deciding to do. And these dinosaur businesses are stupid.
Right.
They haven't figured it out yet. So instead of, you don't court them, you need to court the people to spend more on internet advertising.
Well, and also they will follow eventually. They're going to have to.
They'll have to.
Right.
But instead they're courting those.
Right. And the problem is it's going to create the same problem that you had with television. It's going to lock it down into too few channels. I mean, never as few as there was back in the day of only 6 channels, right? But overall, the content creators will be owned by more and more conglomerates, which always looks attractive because there's a lot of stability there.
Right.
Presumably. But the problem is then it only takes one business to make a dumb decision and the whole thing collapses.
And there's no way to really do that on the internet anyway. You could host your own videos for a few $100 a month max.
Right, but I mean, it's attractive to go do business with them or the cable internet providers because they have a whole bunch of money. You can work with them. You're not nickel and diming. But the problem is, like you said, these things that need 5% margins, them changing their budget 1 year can fuck you till you're dead.
If you have
versus it would take millions of YouTube users to stop making content.
Where you have five companies that are responsible for your entire revenue income versus literally millions of independent content creators. If even 10-20% of them dropped off, it wouldn't even matter.
Yeah, part of it is that is inherently scary. I understand. The problem is as human beings, our brains don't know how to conceptualize that gestalt, that whole group of people that you don't know them and don't have contracts with them. You have to hope it's going to work.
They don't understand it. They can't control them. They can't, so they don't like it.
They would honestly like to have contracts with 5 big businesses that will actually make them do business different.
Right.
They actually are scared enough that they would rather
they don't
put some chains on and be like, hey, I'd like to do work with you.
Right, because relying on me and a bunch of other random people to continue producing content,
even though it's been proven to work for how many years now.
Right, and work better. I mean, it will be working better.
And those other companies will move into the spaces. It'll just be more like Hulu and stuff, where you pay per channel, so to speak. I pay to have Netflix. I pay to have Amazon Prime. And then I get to view their original content. But
eventually they'll just, if they keep changing it too much, a new YouTube will pop up that does what YouTube used to do. And then all the independent people will move over there.
Right.
And people will watch it for free there.
Right, exactly. And what'll be funny is once the advertising on the internet market starts to become the dominant advertising in terms of pricing as well,
when
where
the money
it's not
shifts
so
over,
cheap,
where people stop spending on
where all the marketing houses are still spending a lot more to make a TV commercial than they are to make a web commercial in terms of paying to advertise.
Right.
Not
making the commercial is probably the same.
Independent,
paying to advertise.
That's an independent cost of
it's a fixed
what
cost.
I'm talking about. Well, I mean, it's like what it costs to make the commercial is not relevant to my discussion.
Right, because it doesn't matter where
I'm talking about what you pay. It's like the same thing with radio. Radio, the cost of putting an ad on the radio went down as people stopped listening to the radio. Right. But the cost of advertising on TV hasn't gone down as much as the amount of people have left TV.
And it's still probably more to put on a radio ad than a local radio ad than to put some AdWords up there.
Per impression, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I would guarantee you per quote unquote click through.
Anywhere near as much feedback on it.
Right, and you have no idea how much impressions. You got to take some surveys and hope that those are accurate numbers of how many people are watching or listening to your show.
Use it, and then that's how you track it.
Right. But anyway, so once that starts reaching more parity where internet ads are becoming more dominant and independent people can start making more money, some other site that handles that better is going to wipe the floor with them because they will have more money for the people who make content, more money for themselves. Because right now the problem is YouTube actually doesn't make that much money, right?
No,
so that's
yeah,
one of the reasons
that's
they're
why
courting
they're
big
mad.
companies too. It's more
Yeah.
stable, less scary.
Well, and the only thing I think that saved them so far is the fact that they also own AdSense, and there's no other real way for another site
ads, yeah.
really to automatically pair advertisers with the content creators as
Across
easily
multiple
across
venues.
all formats, and certainly this automatically as there is with AdSense. So that's allowing them to stave off that
Yeah.
sort of mutiny, I guess.
right.
But that's not going to last forever, especially when they make, like I said, when they pay people, when they realize they're literally paying someone to do that, someone's
Paying
going to do
someone
it.
to leave,
Someone's
yeah,
going to
yeah.
do it
Exactly.
eventually.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
That'll be weird.
And hopefully YouTube will come to their senses, realize that, and the independent content creators can band together and sort of fight against that sort of
Still have a place
takeovers.
within the,
right.
still make it profitable for them to put stuff on YouTube, because otherwise it just gets, I mean, I don't know. I mean, of course, it could work out that the companies coming in there will prove profitable and it probably will. It probably will prove profitable for YouTube, but it will exactly have the consequence you're talking about. Well, if you kick everybody out, they're going to build another place.
Right. Like it may not, doesn't necessarily mean that model for them will fail, but they're setting it up so that it can't do both.
Right.
Like purposefully,
exactly.
it
Yeah.
seems
That's
like.
the simplest
They're
way
either
to
gonna
put
be,
it.
Yeah, they're not going to set up, because right now you're in a situation where
You can do
corporate
both.
companies can make shows on there. They can do
They
whatever.
can make a
and-
YouTube
and
channel
I can still
dedicated
just-
to Nike if they want.
Right, and I
the
can
Nike
still
YouTube.
throw up my stuff on there, but they're just mad because they're like, it cost us $5,000 to make a 5-minute video,
And I don't get as
do
many
it in my
views.
or Styx does it without even wearing a shirt,
Right, yeah.
for and 5 times a day, and he makes $5,000 a month, has no overhead or whatever. So
Right. Well, that's also the nature
can't
of a
compete with
one-man
that.
show. I mean,
Right.
sorry, that's just
Yeah.
life, you know.
that's the way it works. But that's the problem, is they're trying to fight that.
Yeah.
So well, that was pretty interesting. We're at about an hour. It's 5 minutes. I think we covered most of the time, unless you had anything else.
No, I mean, there's all this stuff in the news that's...
Maybe we'll be able to do more. We're not necessarily not doing any more episodes.
No,
so.
we just held off for a while because it was...
None of you jerks are watching.
Right. A few jerks are watching,
Yeah,
but
apparently.
not
And I
that
was
many.
happy to get a request to do more. That
Yeah,
made me
yeah.
feel good.
Yeah,
Warmed
exactly.
the cockles of my heart.
We honor
All
the
my
requests of
cockles.
our fan.
Exactly.
Of our fan.
Our fan.
Our fan.
Our fan is very important to us.
Right. Right.
So so thanks to Tracy for giving us some ideas to talk about and for letting us know that someone was listening.
You know what? We'll try and be back.
Yeah. See you later, guys.
Adios.